Welcome back. As I promised you, SABC News senior politics reporter Samkele Maseko in studio with us to open up their diary. So, Samkele, I said there's never a dull day in politics, but certainly, I don't know, the politics in the government of national unity go beyond not just being dull, but, there's always something around the corner. We had this 48-hour ultimatum, and there was a lot of expectation. And a lot of people are reacting to what eventually came out. Tell me how the story goes from where we are and what will happen in the next few days.
What we're essentially seeing is DA factional battles playing themselves out in the public for. They come out very strongly with their threats against the ANC administration, saying that if you don't adhere to these particular points, that we want the firing of these particular ministers who are alleged to be corrupt. Nobuhle Nkabane, Kumbudzo Nchaveni, David Mahlobo, Thembi Simelane. If you don't fire those particular individuals, we are withholding our votes when it comes to their ministerial budget votes, but also threatening a vote of no confidence against the president. But it essentially shows you that there are two bulls in one kraal within the Democratic Alliance. And in isiZulu customs, and particularly with those who herd cattle, they will tell you, you can't have two bulls in one particular kraal. There will be conflict and the grass will suffer at the end of the day. So ultimately, the DA, it's an internal factional battle within the Democratic Alliance. It's the faction of John Steenhuisen that is inside the administration of President Ramaphosa against Helen Zille, who is outside of the administration, who's the federal executive chairperson of the DA, basically the CEO of the Democratic Alliance, who runs that particular organization against those in the administration. Those who've tasted state power don't want to lose that particular state power. For instance, if you look at the points, John Steenhuisen was advancing within the FedEx meeting of saying that it would be disastrous for the DA to dump the GNU now. It would be disastrous for the South African economy. The economy would tank. So that particular narrative of the markets, of the economy, that was used by Steenhuisen to advance his particular points. But the DA has not won anything on a policy perspective within the government of national unity. And also when it comes to the fiscal framework of the budget of the country, they may have been able to remove that 2% VAT increase that was proposed, or 1% VAT increase that was proposed, but that was not entirely their own doing. So on a policy perspective, they are found wanting. And Helen Zille is saying that we are not getting anything out of this particular agreement, so we must just get out of it. Hence, she said that that particular statement of intent is not even worth the paper it's written on.
Speaking of that, then, that's that debate, internal debate within the DA. One of the points that I found to be curious in their statement, and in fact I have it in front of me, is the whole point about mentioning that there was great debate about whether or not to move a motion of no confidence in the president, but ultimately that was decided against. What's the point of including that in your statement if you're not pulling the trigger on it? So it's not like it was resolved that we're going to have a motion of no confidence. We are in the default position we were in all along, in that there's no motion of no confidence. Talk to me a bit more about this spectre.
It's like the ANC debating whether to expel Jacob Zuma or not to expel him, and leave him to hurt you at the 11th hour, drop you under 50%, and then you decide to expel him. The Democratic Alliance, FedEx, is exactly like the African National Congress, NEC. They don't take decisions. They are too heavily divided. They are fraught. They mentioned that particular point of a vote of no confidence against the president to try and save face of an embarrassment that they will ultimately have egg on their faces, because you can't issue an ultimatum that in 48 hours, if you don't do this, we will ultimately pull out of the government of national unity. When it gets to that 11th hour, when you must take action, you kowtow out of the very same threats you voluntarily made out of your own evolution. So they were essentially embarrassed. There was egg on their faces, but it also showed you the power dynamics within the Democratic Alliance. Those who are within the administration, as I said earlier, they don't want to go, or they don't want to let go of those particular perks, even if it means the Democratic Alliance keeps suffering at the polls that you are seeing with the resurgence of the ANC once again to where they were during the elections. But the Democratic Alliance is facing a threat from Action SA, and it does tell you that if they don't play opposition and government at the same time, they will lose their electorate to Action SA and to the Freedom Front Plus. So they are essentially appealing to their voter base.
Could it be, Samkele, could it be that those who wanted a motion of no confidence to be moved inside that FedEx insisted that, okay, we accept we've been defeated on every point, but we stand on this one. We would want you to record and let the people of South Africa know that some among us believed that we should move a motion of no confidence?
I always like to mirror things. It's like the ANC when it was disbanding provinces. President Ramaphosa never used the word disbandment. He used reconfiguration in order to infuse the views of the minority view within his ANC. So that statement of the Democratic Alliance infused the views of the minority within the organization so that no one feels left out, and they also feel that they are part of the decision making and that their points are not issues that we're ignoring, but issues that we can look to when it comes to the foreseeable future. So essentially, Helen Zille is saying that, okay, John Steenhuisen, you can have your way for now. But if things do not improve, I will then trigger my own motion of a motion of no confidence against the president, regardless of how you feel and how the investors feel. Because ultimately, we must agree on one point. Those who feed you control you. And ultimately, those who donate to these political formations decide the political and economic trajectory that the administration must take. And in this instance, it does see that the president is showing that he is in charge and he is not being told what to do by the capitalist class.
Lastly, Samkele, let's talk about this review, this white paper around political governance in local government. This is about coalitions, is it?
It's not only about coalitions, it's about trimming down the fat when it comes to these municipalities. You've got a number of municipalities within the country that are simply dysfunctional, that are simply don't have the fiscal frameworks to survive, don't have the budget, don't have any revenue to collect within their municipalities. And it looks at trimming those particular municipalities down as opposed to having 257 local municipalities within the country. Why don't you broaden some of them up, particularly like a municipality in KwaZulu-Natal, like Ndumeni? You bring it closer, you amalgamate it to another municipality. You have one municipality, which would mean the demarcation board would come on board to demarcate certain wards as well. But also the financial feasibility of these municipalities is no longer sustainable. There was a method where 90% of revenue of municipalities comes from rates and taxes that are paid by residents. That is no longer coming to fruition, looking at the high unemployment that is there within the country, the inflation that is currently taking place, and the economy basically tanking. That will tell you that that needs to be reviewed, because only 10% of the funding comes from province and national government. They are looking at a review of that particular framework, and also the remuneration of councillors, because at local municipality you've got people whom are simply, to put it point blank, are not up to scratch. They are out of their depth in many of these particular municipalities, and that is in the administration, and that is also within the executive. You look at the speakers, you look at the mayors, they are inept, they are just not knowing what is cutting and what their job actually entails, and also the bureaucrats that are there within these specific municipalities. You look at a municipality like Ekurhuleni, for example, that is fraught by challenges. You look at Tshwane, you look at Joburg, you look at Mfuleni, that has dilapidated over the course of the years, with sewage just running down the streets.
I think you've said it all when you mentioned those ones.
So you just have to re-look at the structure of local government. But also what is interesting is that the politicians are looking at the remuneration of councillors, to say that if you're a councillor in a local municipality, like Ndumeni, for example, or Dan Donald, the municipality there, and you are earning...
it's another one. not my Dan Donald. Mine is in Mpumalanga, okay?
If you look at the remuneration of a councillor or a mayor there, and you take someone from the provincial legislature, for instance, let me say you take Colin Sidibe from the EFF, or you take Desmond Umoela from the ANC, and you want to take them to Nkomazi, for example, there would be a huge salary gap from what they are currently earning in the legislature to what they would earn in a local municipality. And in most instances, your highly skilled people would not want to go to a local sphere, because there is a huge gap in the salary discrepancy that is there. So they're really looking at that particular issue. Look at Cyril Xaba, for an example, taken from the National Assembly, taken to eThekwini. He received a huge knock when it came to his particular salary. But the grading of eThekwini municipality as a metro, his salary would be higher up. But if you were to take him and say he must be a mayor in Umshwati local municipality, I doubt he would agree.
Highly unlikely. Samkele, thank you for coming through. That's Samkele Maseko there. So you've got a sense then of what Samkele and the rest of the team in our politics team will be looking at. It's not just party politics and palace intrigue, but also issues of governance, as you heard there from Samkele, will come through quite strongly in the coming days.